With the best all-inclusive vacation deals to Mexico and the Caribbean, booking your getaway with Cheap Caribbean Vacations means you have more freedom to do your deal. Whether you want to enjoy snorkeling, endless margaritas, and more, or simply soak up the sun and sand in a tropical paradise, Cheap Caribbean Vacations has your deal for that. Plan and book the exact way you want at exactly the right price for you by using our exclusive Budget Beach Finder. Or find a featured all-inclusive package to Iberostar Hotel and Resorts in Jamaica and do your deal at cheapcaribbean.com.
Today, we'll have Heather's recent Disney World trip for a field hockey competition. That's coming up on this episode 447 of WDW Prep to Go. Hello and welcome to WDW Prep to Go, where we talk strategy and ideas for people planning their Disney World trips. And we have lots and lots of trip reports. I'm your host, Shannon Albert from WDWPrepSchool.com. Thank you for being here for episode 447. Today is another trip report. This one was with Heather, who recently traveled for a few days. And the main focus was a field hockey competition, one of many types of competitions that Disney hosts. And so I always think it's interesting to see how the logistics of that work and how people combine it with a Disney trip. If you would like to be a guest on the episode like she is or she was, then the only way to do that is the speak pipe information in the show notes of every episode. Please leave a voicemail. The sooner the better. And if it works out with our schedule, somebody on my team, Jenny, will reach out to you to get it scheduled. I also did want to mention something that comes up a lot on the podcast. Before I hit record, I chat with the guests for a little bit, and a lot of times before the post trip, I will hear from the guests, can I share anything negative? And that's always very interesting to me because that just speaks to the general positivity of the guests. But there is certainly no rule about not sharing negativity. I'm not, Disney not paying me to do this. I'm here to share the truth. And sometimes because we skew positive in general, I think people think that, I think people think negativity is real and positivity is fake. And in this case, we're just trying to share the truth. And sometimes there's negative experiences, and that's totally fine. So if you do become an upcoming guest and you have a negative experience at Disney World, that is totally fine. The only thing that doesn't work is when a guest is overall negative. And I have squashed a couple of trip reports because I thought the overall tone was negative and it didn't feel like a fair representation of what it typically is. But certainly negative experiences are fairly common and worth sharing. So if you're an upcoming guest, feel free to share those as well as the good times. Hopefully there will be more good than bad. I think that's it for the intro. Now here are my chats with Heather. Welcome to the podcast, Heather.
Hi, Shannon. Thanks for having me.
We're talking on Monday, January 20th, and you told me that you're going to Disney World.
I am. My daughter and I, she's 16. We are flying out Wednesday, January 22nd, after school that night to go to Disney World, and we come back on January 26th.
Okay, so a short trip. Have you and your daughter ever taken a trip together, just the two of you?
We have. So my daughter is a field hockey player, and her goal is to play collegiate field hockey. So her team participates in the USA Field Hockey Sunshine Showcase at ESPN Wide World of Sports. And we've been doing this trip, the two of us together, since 2022.
Okay. So I didn't know that they had field hockey. We hear so much about the cheer competitions and dance competitions, but it's field hockey at ESPN Wide World of Sports. So You're traveling then with a team?
Yeah. So she plays with the team and we travel on our own, and there is a team hotel that most people stay at, but we choose to stay on property. We have a goal to, by the time she graduates high school in 2 years, we want to stay at all the value and moderate resorts. So we're working our way through that this year.
Are there any downsides to you choosing a different hotel from the rest of the team?
Yeah. I mean, she does not get to have all of that team bonding time, but she also, it's hard. It's on a trip like this, her main focus is her games and doing her best to help her team win. And when she's done with games, she needs downtime, and we need activities that are, restful. So sometimes being at our own hotel can be helpful to her because she feels like she can just take that time to relax and recuperate as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you've done it multiple times now, so you kind of know what works for you guys, I guess.
Yeah.
So along those same lines, is there group planning like for park time and stuff? And are you involved in that at all? If so?
Yeah, no, not at all. Some people come down early and will do the parks early, or some will stay late. But as far as like the team goes,
Mm-hmm.
no, it's just completely on your own. A lot of people just come and they play field hockey and they go home and they don't visit the parks at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But we've been going, since my daughter, since Bella was tiny. She was 4 years old on her first trip, and she fueled our family's passion for all things Disney because she loves it so much. Yeah.
That's sweet. I do often wonder in these group situations, if somebody like you is going, do you take on the brunt of the planning, if that's applicable? But in your case, it sounds like it's not.
Yeah, we do it on our own. We've been really lucky the past 3 years, actually. There were teammates and friends that were incredibly gracious and invited us on VIP tours. And so for the past 3 years, we weren't in charge. We, were invited on this just incredible experience that we would have never been able to do on our own. And that was just, it was fantastic. And this year is different. This year, it's just us. We're not doing that VIP tour. So it was kind of fun that we could do all the plans on our own.
Mm-hmm. Let's start talking through your plans. How are you guys getting to Orlando?
So we are flying out of St. Louis Wednesday night, nonstop flight, Southwest, and we'll arrive to Orlando about 9:30 p.m.
That is a flight that Heather has taken many times.
Yeah.
She goes Wichita, St. Louis to Orlando on Southwest.
Yeah.
So you do have a direct flight. You're arriving at 9:30 p.m. And then how are you getting from there to your hotel?
So one thing when you're at ESPN Wide World of Sports is that there's no transportation to it. There's no Disney transportation. So we rent a car. We rent a car from Alamo, and we've been doing that for years. And we kind of like the late night arrival. We get into the resort and we check into our room. And then our tradition is that we kind of tour the resort. We take a walk around. It's late at night. It's very peaceful and it's kind of fun to explore. So that has become our, arrival night tradition. So we look forward to that.
And you said you're trying to stay at all the values and moderate. So that means you don't really repeat them. So every time you go to a resort, it's the first time.
Yeah.
So where are you staying this time?
We're staying at Port Orleans Riverside this time.
Gorgeous one to walk around.
Yeah, we were at French Quarter last year and absolutely loved it. Part of me is a little sad to not be at French Quarter again because I loved it so much. But we obviously will have the accessibility of walking right over.
Mm-hmm. You will. I just find the meandering paths at Riverside so beautiful, and the bridges and the water. And I think it's just really nice. But you said that there isn't transportation to ESPN Wide World of Sports, but the rest of the team that's staying off-site, do they have like a bus or something?
No, so it's all the parents bring their daughters and they all rent cars. And so everybody drives to ESPN every day.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Okay. That just seems like a lot of cars and a lot of burden on parents to participate. And like everyone has to take off work and everyone has to pay for it. I don't know.
Yeah. And the parking, so it's kind of crazy. They offer free parking, which is what we always take advantage of at ESPN. But there's also like preferred parking. And they even have like a fancier level than that to park closer because it is such a giant parking lot. Mm-hmm. But it cost, I believe it's $150 to get the parking pass for the weekend this year. And I'm like, no, there's no way we can walk a few extra steps.
They're all athletes. I guess that's normal to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like that'll be the end of your Wednesday because you'll have time to kind of walk around Riverside, get checked in, and then it'll be pretty late.
Go to bed. Yeah.
Okay. So Thursday, January 23rd.
So this is our park day. We come in early so that we can have Thursday in the parks. And so we are doing Magic Kingdom. Mm-hmm. And we haven't done Magic Kingdom in a couple of years. And we haven't really done Magic Kingdom where it's our park that we've been to in several years, like for the whole day. When we, would do the VIP tours, we would hit it, but it would kind of be at the end of the day for fireworks and such.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really looking forward to Tiana's and Tron. And there's just a lot of new things that are, we have not been able to do yet.
Okay. Some new stuff. And did you get lightning lanes?
We did. Lightning Lane, this is new to us. We did Genie Plus. We were back in the Fast Pass days, but Lightning Lane, the multi-pass and single pass is new to us.
How did that go?
It was very easy. I was a little worried about it. I did my research and had the plan. And I think 3 minutes, we're only going to the parks one day. So I think by 7:03 last week, I was done and felt happy about it.
Okay. And what lightning lane did you end up with?
So we are starting with a Mad Tea Party at 9:10. My goal was to get something super early so that we could book something else. And so our plan is we are definitely rope droppers and we will probably bus. Bella would really like to take a minivan sometime, but I don't know. We'll probably bus and then try to rope drop Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and do things in Fantasyland. We have a lot of snack goals this year. She really wants to get a Cheshire cattail while we're there in the morning. And we'll kind of just see what's around in Fantasyland, what looks good that we can do after that Lightning Lane. Our next Lightning Lane is Haunted Mansion at 10:10 a.m. And looking forward to doing that. That is always a favorite. And so really, I feel like our day, we're just going to kind of see where we go, what we want to do. Would really like to ride the train. We have never done that. So that would be a fun, relaxing thing to do. The weather looks terrible on Thursday right now.
Well, exactly what I was going to do because we are so close to your trip. I was like, we really can look at the weather, can't we?
Yeah.
And it says that it's a high of 55, low of 46 with 40% chance of rain.
Yeah, it doesn't look the best.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. Things always change.
They could change. Absolutely. Definitely, it makes me a little nervous with Tiana's later in the day. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to be aiming for the back row of that one. But we'll see. Wear some good waterproof shoes. And, we're kind of go with the flow sort of people.
All day at Magic Kingdom, hitting the new things, hitting some favorites. You're using lightning lanes. Do you have any dining reservations?
We do. After Haunted Mansion, we'll probably need some more food. Our dining reservation isn't until later in the day. Like we want to get corn dog nuggets and maybe spring rolls and maybe hush puppies from Columbia Harbor House. So that might be kind of our, midday sort of lunch snack. Would really like to go over to Tom Sawyer Island one last time. That's a special place for our family. I remember on our kids' first trip back in 2013, we would bring our own food into the parks and we'd go over to Tom Sawyer Island and have a picnic. So it'd be nice to visit that for one more time.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we have Tiana's Lightning Lane at 2:05. I tried to pick middle of the afternoon, hoping it would be warmer. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how that goes. Like I said, I'm planned Bella. I don't think Bella likes this, but I'm like, I want to sit in the back because I do not want to get drenched.
Yeah, especially if it's cold and rainy.
Yeah, exactly. And then so our dining reservation is at 3:45 at Skipper Canteen. We have never been there, so super excited about that. That has definitely been on our list of places to try for a long time. Looking forward to that.
Okay. And are you staying all day, like through fireworks, you think?
We won't quite make it to fireworks. We do have a Lightning Lane single pass for Tron at 6:20. And I chose that time because I thought it'd be cool to ride it at nighttime. Mm-hmm. But after that, we'll probably have to head out. She does have a team meeting at 8:30. So I figure by 7:30, we're going to head out to make sure that she gets to her meeting on time.
Where's the meeting at?
Over at Bonnet Creek at the Signia is the team hotel. I think our plan will be, we will probably Lyft or Uber from the TTC over there. They charge an exorbitant amount to park, even if you only park for an hour for a team meeting. So I think it'll be cost effective to just Lyft or Uber over there and then Lyft or Uber back over to Riverside when we're done, which will be, probably by 9 o'clock, we'll be headed back to Riverside.
That is wild. They don't have a little visitor
No.
pass?
They have a garage, and last year I was in there for less than an hour and it was $30.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So then what does Friday, January 24th look like?
So Friday is when field hockey starts. So we'll be up early, probably do some quick service at Riverside. Got to get those Mickey waffles. I always feel like their breakfast is a good value. Get a lot of food and can fill up on some protein. And Bella's first game is at 9 a.m. And so we'll want to be over to ESPN by about 8 a.m. because it takes a long time. It's a good 15, 20-minute walk from the parking lot to get to your fields. And there's just tons of people. I mean, she's 16, but there's teams as young as 10 and under all the way up to 19 and under. So there's a lot of people that attend and a lot of teams that play.
Okay. And then what?
So game from 9 to 10, and then she'll have a little break and we'll just stay there because her next game is at noon. And so by 1 o'clock, we will be done with games. So it's a nice schedule this year. Just being done by 1 o'clock seems fantastic. So usually on the way out, her tradition is she wants a frozen lemonade and a churro after she's done playing. Mm-hmm. So we'll get that on the way out. And then we'll head back to Riverside so she can rest and shower. And then I think our plan for the rest of Friday, mostly kind of a resort day. We'll see what the weather brings, but we love to walk around and explore. I mean, it'd be great if it was we could hang out at the pool, but that does not look like that's probably going to happen. We'll definitely walk over to French Quarter for beignets. That is a must do. And then this just popped up just this week. I made a reservation because they called me a couple times to tour DVC properties. So we're going to do that Friday night. We're going to head over to Saratoga at 6 to do a 1-hour tour. And they were offering me $100 gift card too. We couldn't pass it up. Bella and I also, we love to visit resorts. And Saratoga is actually, I think it is the only resort we have not been to visit. That excited us to get the chance to go over there.
Nice. You have to let us know what you think of that since we just did the DVC episode.
Right. And so that's about it. We don't quite have dinner figured out for Friday night. Bella's leaning towards maybe getting an early sandwich at Disney Springs. We might just do quick service. It could be quick service at Saratoga or just back at Riverside. And I don't know if we're going to drive to Saratoga. We also really like the boat transportation to Disney Springs. So we might just boat to Disney Springs and then walk over to Saratoga.
Yeah,
there's a lot of unknowns where, we just have to kind of see how she's feeling, what she's up to doing.
Mm-hmm. And the weather and all kinds of things. Okay.
Yeah.
So Saturday, January 25th. So
Saturday, she will have 2 games. Only one of them we know the time right now. So her first game is at 9 a.m. So once again, it's nice that it's, pretty early. So we'll be up and drive over to ESPN for a game. It looks like looking at the schedule. So what happens is they're in a pool and they play 3 games. Mm-hmm. And after the 3 games, they reseed all the teams. In her age bracket, I haven't counted this year, but last year there was, I believe, 88 different teams playing. And so they rank them from 1 to 88. And then you start in a playoff bracket. She'll get reseeded, her team will, and they'll play. It looks like it'll either be 12, 1, or 2. At the very latest, we'll be done by 3 p.m. Hopefully done earlier again. We'll drive back to Riverside, shower, rest a little bit. And then Saturday night, our plan is to boat to Disney Springs. We love to shop there. We have 2 dining reservations right now. We'll only keep one of them, but sometimes it's just hard to know exactly what time we're going to want to eat at or what kind of food we're going to want to eat. So we have 6 o'clock at Summer House on the Lake. We walked by it last year and I just thought it was super cute and wanted to try it. And then I also have one at 7:45 at Paddlefish, which I know you love, and we've never been. So that's been on our list to try for a long time.
I don't think you can go wrong with the two that you have.
Good.
They're both so good.
So
and shopping, you said as well.
Yes, gotta get the shopping in.
Okay. And then is that it for that day? Okay.
That's it for Saturday.
Sunday, January 26th is departure day. Is anything else though before you leave?
Yeah, so it's more field hockey. Depending on how her team does on Saturday, she will have at least one game and potentially two games. But I think the very latest her bracket finishes is 1. So we're done by 1. It could be earlier though. And so we don't fly out until 7:55. So we have that. We'll definitely have the afternoon to do more. Once again, I have 2 dining reservations because, as I told you, we like to explore different resorts. And so our hope, well, I would say my hope is that we're done a little bit earlier because they got a lunch reservation at Steakhouse 71 for 1:05. It was the latest I could get lunch. And so I've wanted to go to Steakhouse 71 for a long time. If that happens, then after lunch, we will take the monorail around. We like to shop at the Grand Floridian. We love the Polynesian. That's my dream, is to stay at the Polynesian one day. And so we'll get Dole Whip and just shop and hang out there. And if her team ends up playing later, then our plan will be we have a 2:40 reservation at Beaches and Cream. Never been there. So that would be super exciting too. And then we would just walk around the boardwalk, which is always fun to do as well. So we just kind of have to wait and see where her team winds up.
That is always a big unknown with these competition-related trips. You don't really know how many events you're going to be attending.
Yeah. And so then by about 5, we'll head to the airport. And then we'll head home.
You'll head home.
Yeah.
Short and sweet.
Yeah. It's, I mean, I'm a teacher, so it's hard to take off. They don't give us many personal days. So I use my 2 personal days for this trip every year. And
we're talking on one of your days off too, I assume.
Yes. Yeah. That's why when I was scheduling this, I'm like, oh, well, this day works out well.
It does. Okay. Was there anything we haven't talked about?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, this sounds good. And I think I'll talk to you in about a week and a half when you get back.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Shannon.
It's true that some things change as we get older. But if you're a woman over 40 and you're dealing with insomnia, brain fog, moodiness, and weight gain, you don't have to accept it as just another part of aging. And with MIDI Health, you can get help and stop pushing through it alone. The experts at MIDI understand that all these symptoms can be connected to the hormonal changes that happen around menopause, and MIDI can help you feel more like yourself again. Many healthcare providers aren't trained to treat or even recognize menopause symptoms. MIDI clinicians are menopause experts. They're dedicated to providing safe, effective, FDA-approved solutions for dozens of hormonal symptoms, not just hot flashes. Most importantly, they're covered by insurance. 91% of MIDI patients get relief from symptoms within just 2 months. You deserve to feel great. Book your virtual visit today at joinmidi.com. That's joinmidi.com.
Transform your space instantly with new original art you love. At Saatchi Art, discover thousands of curated, one-of-a-kind paintings, sculptures, and photography for your home from today's top emerging artists around the world. Whether you're filling a blank space on your walls or starting an art collection, find the perfect piece for your specific style and budget at Saatchi Art. Plus, their 14-day satisfaction guarantee means you can buy with confidence. Visit SaatchiArt.com today and get 10% off your first work of original art with code IHEART. That's 10% off at SaatchiArt.com. That's SaatchiArt.com.
This is Jenny Garth from I Do Part 2. Everyone's talking about GLP-1s, like Ozempic, semaglutide. With Future Health, you can find out if they're right for you, too. Just go to tryfh.com, that's tryfh.com, and find out if weight loss meds are right for you in just 3 minutes. Future Health is not a healthcare services provider. Meds are prescribed at provider's discretion. Results may vary. Sponsored by Future Health.
Welcome back from your trip, Heather.
Thanks, Shannon. It's good to be back.
We are talking on Saturday, February 1st, and you've been back for a few days. How did your trip go?
It went really well. It was a great trip. It was definitely a different trip, just mainly because of the weather. It was very chilly for most of the days when we were there. So that made for a different experience. But overall, it was great.
Okay, let's start talking through it. You told us on Wednesday, January 2nd, you were flying out of St. Louis and arriving at night in Orlando.
Yeah, and this is what we do pretty much every year. And it went super smoothly. We had, even before I left school, so I'm still teaching on Wednesday, and I get a notification that our room's ready. And, it's interesting because I feel like every time I put in a room request, it doesn't work out. Bella told me, she's like, just don't put in a room request again, because I had requested, I'm like, okay, let's be in Magnolia Bend at Riverside, not on the first floor. And like 1 p.m. I'm teaching and I get a notification. Your room is ready in Alligator Bayou. I'm like, of course it is. But that's okay. It ended up working out great. So got done with school. My 17-year-old son drove Bella and I to the airport, and the flight and all was super smooth. We fly Southwest. That's pretty much the only airline we fly, just because they fly so much out of St. Louis. And we landed a little early. We were off the plane by 9:40. And I just thought this was crazy that we, got our bags. We have to check a bag because of Bella's field hockey stick. We had our bags, we got our car from Alamo, and we're into Riverside in our room by 10:40. I thought that was great timing that worked out so quickly.
That's really fast.
Yeah, it's never been that fast before, but that was nice.
And thoughts on your resort room and location?
I was a little nervous when I got that notification. I pulled up the map, and it was building 37. And looking at the map of Riverside, it's a big resort, right? And it's daunting how big it looks on the map. And so building 37 looked as far away as possible. So I was a little nervous, but honestly, it was fine. I mean, it ended up being a 6-7 minute walk to the main building, which doesn't seem bad. And it was a beautiful location. So even though it seemed like it was going to be super far away, it worked out well.
How did it work relative to where you could park?
Oh, and that's the beauty of moderates that we found. I mean, it was a 1-2 minute walk from our car to our room. Moderates just have great parking, and they're just accessible, it seems like to me, to most of the buildings, super close. So the parking was fabulous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think that is a big difference at moderates. There's a downside and upside to having all those buildings with, bus stops and parking lots, but you can park pretty close usually.
Yeah, that was great.
Okay. So you got in safely. It is nighttime. Is there anything else that happened on this day before we move on?
We always like to, kind of take a walk around the resort. So we did that. We walked to, the main building, walked around, did a little shopping at the Fulton Market in there, went to Bell Services to pick up our grocery order. We had done a Publix order through Instacart, and that took a few minutes. They kept asking me my name, and the girl was like, I don't see it in here. And it's kind of like, well, let me pull up the receipt. But then someone else further behind must have typed it in. And I don't know if she spelled her name wrong or what. She's like, oh, it's here. Just sit down by the fire. And, 5 minutes later, out came our water and Gatorade and snacks, and walked back to the room and went to bed.
All right. So the next day was Thursday, January 23rd, and this was your main park day. So you headed to Magic Kingdom, I think.
Yeah. We were up early, up probably at about 6 a.m. It was chilly. I think it was 41 degrees. So definitely our chilliest day ever at Disney World that we'd ever experienced. We were going to take the bus to Magic Kingdom and rope drop. And so I use the app to track the bus, but I don't have the best experience with it. It took a long time for anything to load. I kept looking. And then it finally updated. It was like 6:56. And it was like, okay, the bus will be at your stop. We were super close to the North Depot at Riverside. And it said 7:06. So I'm like, okay, that's 10 minutes. It's like a 2-minute walk tops. Like, let's go. And so we got our stuff and out the door we went. And of course it updated and it was like, no, it's here at 7. And as we're walking, we see the bus leave our stop, which just seems to be our luck. Not that we needed to be on that very first bus. It was fine.
You were up.
We were up.
That is also my experience with the bus times, is it actually comes a little bit before sometimes.
That's good to know. And I think we need to be better planners and just get out there early and don't even pay attention to it.
Yeah, just go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's especially hard for it to be accurate at the resorts that have all the bus stops. You know, if it's going to Pop Century, there's just one stop. And so it's easier to predict. But the internal ones have a lot of variables.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I know, but that's frustrating. So you were on the second bus of the day, probably.
Yeah. So I think it came at like 7:21. And then there was 2 more stops after us. So we left Riverside at 7:28 and we were off the bus at Magic Kingdom at 7:44. So it was a very crowded bus, but you know, it wasn't too long of a ride. And then we tapped in at 7:59. And then our plan was to rope drop Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And so we were held there going into Fantasyland. And my experience with early entry has been that a lot of times they let you in before it begins, before 8:30. I've even had times when I've been on and off rides before the official early entry opening. But on that day, on Friday, they did not let us pass that rope until 8:30. It was 8:30 on the dot. So we went to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And it took us, I guess, by the time we got off, it was like 20 minutes later. So about that 8:50 mark, we were off Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I think a lot of people headed there, of course. They announced like when we were walking onto it that it was like a 60-minute wait at that point. But we just wanted to do it because we weren't going to buy the single pass for it and just didn't want to chance a longer wait later. After Seven Dwarfs, we headed over to see if Peter Pan was open. It actually ended up being closed most of the morning. We did It's a Small World, which was a complete walk-on. But it was super fun because no one else was on our boat. No one was on the boat behind us, which was it was kind of fun to be in some of those rooms and, look around and be like, oh, it's just us. It's just us and all the dolls.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy though, too.
I know. Bella was thinking of the Kingdom Keepers book series.
The first book.
Yes. So that was kind of fun. We took a picture in there just because it was neat to have no one behind us. And then we were hoping that maybe Peter Pan would come back up or open for the first time. It was still closed. It was like 9:10 at this time. Since Peter Pan was still closed, we went over to Tea Party and tapped in for our first lightning lane. It was a 10-minute wait, but I was able to go ahead and then book another lightning lane. I got Peter Pan and it was like 6:35 that night, but we wanted to ride it. So I decided to go ahead and get that. I was able to modify it down to like 6:10. I didn't have the greatest luck modifying times. I would try, but it didn't work super well. So Tea Party was fun. We saw Mad Hatter and Alice. They got on and rode after us, which was cute. And then it was time for a snack. So then we got our Cheshire Cattail that we wanted to try. Mm-hmm. We shared one. It was great. Kind of small. It seemed smaller than it did in pictures, but it was tasty. We went to Little Mermaid after that. I say it's a walk-on, but there was a family in front of us and then an older couple in front of them. And it was like the slowest walk-on just because of their pace. We're like, oh my gosh, I want to pass as you're walking the queue.
Through the queue?
Yeah, it was so slow.
That's a long walk if someone's going a different pace than you.
Yeah, but that was fine. Little Mermaid's a cute ride. We always enjoy it. And then we got another snack. We kind of took our time throughout this day. It's cold. I mean, I am in my winter coat.
Mhm.
I have a stocking cap on. I have thick wool socks. I even brought my waterproof hiking boots because it was supposed to be rainy. So I am bundled up, and I'm just like, we're going to do this day at our own pace so that we don't, wear out. So snacks were important to that. So we went to Gaston's and got the cinnamon roll and split that. That was tasty. And then by that time, I think it was time for our second lightning lane, which was Haunted Mansion. And it was a 25-minute standby at that point. And we tapped into that. That was kind of fun. We were the very last people getting out of the stretching room. And when you left the stretching room, it was really backed up. And we could barely get out of the stretching room doors. And it was kind of cool because then we could see the other stretching room, door open, which was just sort of one of those odd things being at the very back. And I guess because it was so backed up, we were like, oh, hey, look, there's another stretching room. Haunted Mansion was great. Once I tapped into that, I booked Space Mountain, I think for about 1:00. And I am very so-so on Space Mountain. For the past few years, I feel like I think I say that it's a ride that rattles my brain. But I decided to go for it. I was like, Bella likes it. I'm like, we'll go for it. We're going at our own pace. So I'll try it. So after Haunted Mansion, we did a little shopping, went to the Ye Old Christmas shop, went to the Frontier Trading Post, just taking our time wandering around. And then we rode the railroad, which we had never done. And so that was a walk-on at 10:57. And we just took it the entire loop. We rode it from Frontierland all the way back to Frontierland.
Mm-hmm.
And that was super fun, nice, relaxing. I think the coolest part was seeing the backside of Big Thunder Mountain because it's closed for refurbishment.
Mm-hmm.
And they were actively working on it. And I was surprised by how much work was going on. Just a lot of scaffolding, a lot of workers. It looked like all of the track was torn up. There was even a giant crane, that was moving stuff. So that was just kind of cool to get to see that refurbishment.
Beyond Big Thunder Mountain, which is what they call it, that area is going to be very busy for a while.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool to see. So while we were on the train, we did a mobile order for Columbia Harbor House, which has always kind of been one of our family's favorite quick service restaurants. And Bella really wanted the hush puppies. We had not had, really any protein. We brought snacks in. So we had nuts and granola bars too. But so our order, we got off the train, picked up our order, ate upstairs. It was nice and peaceful up there. We had a window view looking over Liberty Square. But, and I think I've heard you say this, the food, it was okay. It's not as good as I remembered it, or maybe just the quality has gone downhill.
I think it's gone downhill. It used to be a go-to every time, and now we just don't go anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it did its purpose. We got a little bit of food in us to sustain us as we continued on, but it was disappointing. And then we exchanged, I had the old fuel rods. And, I'd heard you talk about how you can turn those in and get the new version. So I had brought both of my old ones and did that kind of by the restrooms, I think right by Adventureland, Frontierland there. So that was cool to get the whole new fuel rod set up with all the cords and all.
The cords, and they have a button on them.
Yeah. And I will say they definitely, I think their charge is much improved.
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely, it seemed like a good deal to, upgrade those. And then we did Pirates. It was posted 20 minutes. I think we waited 13. The weather was so cold and so cloudy. There was a little bit of a mist at this time, but not enough that, there was tons of people walking around fully decked out in their ponchos. I felt no need at this time to be wearing a poncho because it was just such a, a drizzly mist. Mm-hmm. Not a big deal. But that weather seemed to affect the inside of the ride. So like Pirates was super cool because it was just so foggy. Like in that first giant room with the ships, it was super cool and creepy. And we had never seen it like that before. So that was kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, we saw that the People Mover was finally open. It had been down all morning. And I love a good ride on the People Mover. So we walked onto the People Mover, but it had troubles. It stopped at least 2 times while we were riding it for a few minutes at a time. And I mean, I think we were outside at the time, so it was a bit chilly, but it was better than being like in the pitch black. But that ride seemed to take a while just because it did break down a couple of times.
Yeah, and it frustrates me because, like you said, Peter Pan's flight was down for a lot. It's like when things typically take a lot of people, it changes the dynamic of the whole park. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, and the park seemed very busy.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've had January days where it doesn't seem too busy, but there was a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
We did a Monsters Inc. laugh floor after that. Had never done that before. It was cute. I mean, kind of corny, but once again, it was one of those things that it lets you rest your feet a little bit and get warm on a really cold day.
Yep.
And I think after that, it was time for our Space Mountain Lightning Lane. A standby was 30 minutes. And we got in line at 1:09. We're off by 1:24. 15 minutes, we were completely done. I will say Space Mountain was great. And my theory is that the weather helped me tolerate rides. I'm used to going. A lot of our family trips have been in the heat of the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that heat affects my motion sickness and my ability to ride after ride. And so I think
so.
Yeah, the cool weather was great. Now my 17-year-old son, who is a roller coaster enthusiast and expert, I will say expert too. He wants to be an engineer. That's what he's going to study in college. He said that when it's colder, they go slower. So he thought that maybe, even though Space Mountain is not fast, let's be honest, but that the slowness of it also helped me to not feel it as much.
I so want there to be more information about motion sickness because there's so many factors, it seems like, and there's different types. And I do think the weather is a big factor.
Yeah, I really I just felt like everything was easier with the cool temperatures this time. Mm-hmm. After this, we went to Tiana's. Now, Tiana's was also down all morning, which I figured, well, as cold as it was, maybe they just didn't open it because who wants to go get wet when it's really cold? Mm-hmm. But I had totally forgotten about virtual queue at 7 a.m. And we had the Lightning Lane for it. But when we were waiting to get in for early entry, I thought of it and snagged a boarding group at like 8:06. I got a boarding group 69. And so we went and we did our virtual queue because Tiana's did open up. Bella had been super worried. She's like, what if it doesn't open? Because we've never ridden it before. And Splash Mountain was always like her favorite ride when she was little. And we both were so excited about the retheming. But it did open. And so we went and we did our virtual queue. And this is about like 1:45. I had been adamant that I would not ride in the front 2 rows because I had heard that is where you get wet. I bought ponchos. I've never used ponchos in my life, but I bought ponchos for this ride because I knew we were riding it no matter what. And of course, we're in line and they're like, is there a group of 2? And Bella's like, yes, we're here. And so they move us way up and they put us in the front row.
How'd that work out for you?
It worked out fine. The poncho was a lifesaver. I put my backpack under it. I kind of lifted my feet up. And Bella at the last moment put on the poncho too. Because I'm just like, if we get wet, it's 41, 42 degrees. This is going to be terrible. But the poncho worked great. Our faces got soaked and everything else stayed dry under our little, $1 ponchos. It was great. The ride's adorable. I mean, what a great job they did with the retheming. the music, like the new music that was written for it. I love it. Our only issue would be that the animatronics were not working. The very first Tiana wasn't moving at all. The last Mama Odie, not moving at all. And then several of the other Tianas only seemed to be like half working. So that, that's a little disappointing.
I think that's a lot disappointing. And I think Disney prides itself on their animatronics, which obviously keep getting better and better, but the reliability keeps going down. And I think sometimes, like when Frozen Ever After is down, I think it's animatronic related a lot of times. Or Tiana's, like I really think that's why they close sometimes. And it's like,
yeah.
I'd rather have something that's not quite as advanced in functions. But that's hard.
Actually works. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and maybe that's part of the reason that they didn't open it right away. At that point, when we got off, it was time for our Tiana's lightning lane. So I'm like, well, this is perfect. If we're going to get wet, like, let's just do it right in a row. So we just went back and rode it again. And I think we were in the third row that time. But once again, we didn't get too wet. So I was.
Can you compare the wait times of your virtual queue and your lightning lane? Do you know?
I'm looking at my notes. So our virtual queue, we got into line at 1:47 and we were off at 2:12.
Okay, so about 25 minutes.
25 minutes. And that's with the ride, it's a long ride.
Which is a long ride, yes.
Yeah. And the second one, in line at 2:15 with our lightning lane and off at 2:36. So 21 minutes. So that one was shorter with the lightning lane.
A little, but not too bad.
Not too bad. Let me rephrase that. I think a lot of people weren't interested in Tiana's because of the weather. It was cold and it was kind of rainy.
Mm-hmm. It's been closing down a little earlier than normal too.
Okay. So I think when I tapped into backing up, when I tapped into space earlier, I got a Buzz Lightyear for the evening for like around 6:20. When I tapped into the Tiana's one, I started having trouble finding things we were interested in riding. I think I got a Barnstormer, but I really had no intention of riding the Barnstormer, but I just wanted to get something. And I thought, well, maybe I'll be able to modify.
Mm-hmm.
After Tiana's, we were getting really hungry at this point, and we were getting closer to our dining reservation, but we did Jungle Cruise first. Mm-hmm. And it was Bella's idea, and I thought it was a great one, that it would be fun to ride Jungle Cruise before going to Skipper Canteen. Mm. And so it was a posted 30-minute wait, and we did standby, and it was 20 minutes. Our skipper was great. She was so enthusiastic and had great jokes, but our boat was not into it. I don't know if we just got a boat full of people that didn't quite understand that they're corny jokes and that you're supposed to, laugh at it. But poor Skipper Brooke was like getting no love from the crowd. So at one point, Bella just starts like this huge belly laugh at this joke, and everyone just stares, like turns and stares at her like, what is wrong? Why are you laughing?
I hate when that happens. Can you imagine being the skipper and nobody is reacting and you're trying to be funny?
It would be terrible.
I do notice during events that like first timers aren't as well versed on like an after hours event. The skippers tend to get a better reception because everyone kind of knows what's going on.
Yeah.
But it is painful during normal park hours because most people are not a good laugh.
Yeah. Jungle Cruise is it's great. My only issue was it was a pretty good rain at this point, and they directed us to sit on the middle bench and the two spots that were not covered. Now, on a boat before us, I saw that they like had a little cover that they could close. So it was entire. On our boat, they did not close that. So Bella and I just got rained on for the entire Jungle Cruise. So that was, after that one, I replaced my stocking cap. I had brought two. I brought like 2 pairs of socks, 2 hats. So after that one, my hat was pretty soaked. So I put that away for the rest of the day and got out the second one. But yeah, it was fun to do Jungle Cruise and then head to Skipper Canteen. We checked in at like 3:30 for our reservation, which was at 3:45. Mm-hmm. It took 15 minutes for them to seat us. And there was a lot of people waiting to be seated. So I thought, oh, it must be busy inside. And so when we got seated, it was not busy. We were seated in the world famous mess hall. And I mean, I don't even think half of the tables were seated at that point. So it was not full. And there was tons of staff. Our Skipper Canteen experience was not the greatest. The host who set us, he was great. He was telling the corny jokes, you know, it was great. But our first server, we went through 2 servers. Our first server took at least 15 minutes to come greet us. Now, granted, our host did tell us, like, they'll be with you in, 2 weeks. But I thought that was a joke, like, not literally that was going to take that long. So I don't know. Something was going on there. And she ended up giving our table to a different server. So hopefully, I don't know if she was having a bad day or if there was extenuating circumstances. I don't know. But finally, 15, 20 minutes later, we're finally being, addressed and having our order taken. And we were just starving at that point. It's that almost hanger. We need drinks. We need food. The food was great. And it was nice to sit down. But it wasn't very warm in there. And we were cold because we'd just been on Jungle Cruise, gotten rained on. And I felt like our table, it was very drafty. It served its purpose, but I was honestly a little disappointed. After that, we went to Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh is one of those rides that we like. And I couldn't get a lightning lane for it. So we just did standby. It was posted 40, but Bella really wanted to ride it. So we're like, well, this is our time. Let's go do this. This is like 4:45 or so in the afternoon. We ended up waiting 30 minutes. Shopped. Bella bought a Tigger sweatshirt and a Pooh necklace in the little store afterwards. It's just a fun, cute, nostalgic ride that we like. After that, we did, and the lightning lane was completely not necessary, but I had booked it at some point. I don't remember when we did PhilharMagic, which as a music teacher, I love PhilharMagic. I mean, I take a picture of the carpet because there on the carpet, there's my instrument. I play the bassoon. There's a double bass, which is what Bella plays, and there's a violin, which my son plays. So I love it. And it was fun. It warmed us up. We got to sit down.
Very underrated.
I think so. Yeah. Next, it was snack time again. We got a funnel cake at Sleepy Hollow. We probably only ate half of it between the 2 of us, but we were on our snack mission that day. Had the funnel cake. And then it was finally time for Peter Pan. And it had opened up. So I love that the lightning lane, when you use the lightning lane at Peter Pan, it's just so quick. You tap in and you're on the ride. I think I tapped in at 6:13. By 6:19, we were completely done and off of Peter Pan.
That is quick.
Yeah. It's a great ride. And we saw Peter Pan down the way greeting people. We didn't meet any characters or anything, but it's always fun to see them out and about. It kind of gave off a little bit of Disneyland vibes on this day because we did see several characters roaming around, and I love that about Disneyland.
Yep. I think it's so charming. It's just harder to pull off at Disney World.
It is, for sure. Then it was finally time for Tron. We had picked our lightning lane time for when it was dark, and we're so excited to ride Tron. And it's amazing. We were worried. We had heard so much about how short the ride is. I think those expectations helped us because we actually did not feel like it was that short. And I think it's just because we heard so many people say, oh, it's so short. You blink and you're off. Well, we both loved it. I'll say the locker situation was a little tough. I had a backpack, I'm bringing all these extra hats and socks because of the weather. So we ended up having to have 2 lockers just to fit the stuff in there. But I do appreciate how easy the locker system is to use, that it's free and all that. It was easy to manage. I just had too much stuff with my cold weather gear.
Mm-hmm.
But Tron,
It sounds like it was kind of necessary though on this day.
it was. We would have been miserable without. So it was all that planning, all that extra stuff was definitely used. So we loved Tron. I mean, it was fantastic. And then last lightning lane, last ride of the night was Buzz Lightyear. And I don't know, I did so bad at this. I planned like, this is not working. But I was tired at that point. It was time to go. I think Buzz was our 18th ride.
Yeah, you got a lot done.
We did 7 lightning lane multi-passes, 1 single pass, 1 virtual queue, 18 rides, and a lot of snacking too.
You did. You had gone in with a plan and you found snacks along the way. But then, so that was your last ride, but you were not going back to the hotel right now, I guess, right?
We needed to go to the team meeting, but our plans kind of changed from what I had told you.
Okay.
We ended up, because we got out of Magic Kingdom at 7:23. And so we took the bus back to Riverside. We were going to like lift from the TTC to the team meeting, but we just decided we'd rather take our car, go back to Riverside, change clothes really quickly, take the car. So that's what we did. We took the bus from Magic Kingdom to Riverside, went back to the room for about 5-10 minutes, changed, and then we drove over to the team meeting, which was at Bonnet Creek at the Signia. And to avoid parking costs, I just dropped Bella off. She went in. She didn't need me for the team meeting. The team meeting consists of like, they get their wristbands, they get their ESPN credentials so that they can scan in to ESPN, and just meeting with their team and, going over the details of when and where to be the next day. So I dropped her off and I just kind of did a loop around Bonnet Creek, found a couple of places where I could, pull over for a minute, and then I just do another loop. I'd make it down to the JW Marriott and then come back to the Signia. And it was kind of just peaceful and warm in the car. And I think we were back at Riverside by 9 or 9:15 and just got ready for bed and crashed.
You crashed. So a good park day, but you had to rest up because it was days of events. So
transform your space instantly with new original art you love. At Saatchi Art, discover thousands of curated, one-of-a-kind paintings, sculptures, and photography for your home from today's top emerging artists around the world. Whether you're filling a blank space on your walls or starting an art collection, find the perfect piece for your specific style and budget at Saatchi Art. Plus, their 14-day satisfaction guarantee means you can buy with confidence. Visit SaatchiArt.com today and get 10% off your first work of original art with code IHEART. That's 10% off at SaatchiArt.com. That's SaatChi art.com.
This is Jenny Garth from I Do Part 2. Everyone's talking about GLP-1s, like Ozempic, semaglutide. With Future Health, you can find out if they're right for you, too. Just go to tryfh.com, that's tryfh.com, and find out if weight loss meds are right for you in just 3 minutes. Future Health is not a healthcare services provider. Meds are prescribed at provider's discretion. Results may vary. Sponsored by Future Health.
With the best all-inclusive vacation deals to Mexico and the Caribbean, booking your getaway with cheap Caribbean vacations means you have more freedom to do your deal. Whether you want to enjoy snorkeling, endless margaritas and more, or simply soak up the sun and sand in a tropical paradise, Cheap Caribbean Vacations has your deal for that. Plan and book the exact way you want at exactly the right price for you by using our exclusive Budget Beach Finder. Or find a featured all-inclusive package to Iberostar Hotel and Resorts in Jamaica and do your deal at cheapcaribbean.com.
Friday, January 24th is when the field hockey began. How early did you have to be up?
So 6 a.m. alarm. We love the Hey Disney. We use the alarm, which is just so cute and fun. We also use it to sleep to. We love the soundscapes. I think Princess and the Frog is our favorite soundscape to sleep to. But alarm at 6 a.m. I put in a mobile order right away for Bella to get breakfast from the food court. But the food court didn't open till 7. I left her. She was getting ready and stuff. And I walked down to get the food. But it was so quick. It opened at 7 and I could press, I'm here, prepare my food. And by 7:03, there was my food ready to go. 6-minute, walk back to the room, and we had our breakfast. We left at 7:45 for ESPN. It was about a 15-minute drive. And then we were way out there as far as parking that morning. It was a good 15-minute walk from the parking to get to her field.
That's so wild. And presumably you walked a swift pace, so that would be like a mile. That's really long.
Yeah, I kept track of steps. And like on our park day, Thursday, I had almost 25,000 steps.
Mm-hmm.
You will see that even though we're not in the parks, we have close to that same amount. Oh, I should say I have close to that same amount. Bella's amount would far exceed that because of playing.
Yes. But even just getting in, I don't know, that just seems egregious to me.
There was 3 different events going on. So the field hockey is huge. I mean, there's thousands of athletes, but there was also a gymnastics competition that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some sort of like baseball camp too. I don't think that was very big, but I think there was a lot of people for the gymnastics as well. So it was extra, it seemed extra busy, extra crowded this year.
Mm-hmm. That is a lot all at once. We definitely attribute the higher crowds to a lot of these events being scheduled. But that's a lot all at ESPN.
Yeah. So we had 2 games. She had a game at 9 a.m. and they tied 1-1. And then a game at noon and they won that one 3-0. So it was a pretty good day. A little disappointed in the tie. We had been winning that game and gave up a goal late, but it was against a really good team. So by 1:00 on Friday, we're done with field hockey. Get a churro on the way out because Bella loves her ESPN churros.
Mm-hmm.
And we went back to Riverside and we snacked, we rested, Bella took a shower. We love to watch the Mickey shorts on the TV when we're at Disney. That's just sort of our tradition to watch all the Mickey shorts. Kind of rested up for a couple of hours and then drove to Saratoga at about 3:45. We had debated.
You had a tour.
Yeah. We had debated different transportation options. But in the end, it was kind of one of those things where we were both like, it'd be nice to we have our car. Mm-hmm. Let's take our car. And we knew that they were going to let us in and let us park because we had the DVC tour. So we went early. We parked on the far side of Saratoga and then walked to Disney Springs for about an hour. It was a quick walk. We got sandwiches at Earl of Sandwich, went to the Lego store and did the pick a brick wall for my son. And then Bella had a huge time shopping at Uniqlo. I think it's the first time she had really shopped there. I think we'd been there one time before, but she just thought it was a great store and tried on a lot of clothes and picked out several things. She was super excited by that. That was fun.
It's such a good one for affordable options.
Exactly. She was like, are these really the prices? Like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. You could really go in with $100 and come out with several things.
Exactly. By that time, it was time to walk back over to Saratoga for our tour. Our tour was at 6 and it was great. I've been on several different in the past timeshare presentations that have been very annoying and pressure filled. And I fully expected that DVC would not be that way. And I was right. Matt was our host and he was fantastic. It was informative. There was absolutely no pressure whatsoever. We watched a video. He, just gave us the basic information. I felt like it was very straightforward. If you buy 150 points, this is what it costs. And if you were to do it in the next week, this is the discount. And I thought it was so cool. I had no idea that at Saratoga, you could see all the different rooms. So we got to see Polynesian, and Riviera rooms. And I just had no idea that, oh, you have them all built here so that I can see all the different DVC rooms.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Which one did you like the most?
I would lean towards Polynesian, and Bella loves the Riviera.
Okay.
Yeah. So 45 minutes and we were in and out. Like I said, just no pressure. Definitely not something that my family is interested in. At least not at this point. Probably never. We love Disney, but I don't think DVC is just for us. But it was super fun. And within an hour, they had emailed me a $100 Disney gift card, which was great.
Do they still offer you the transportation where they'll take you anywhere afterwards? I know you had your own car.
No, I did not hear anything about transportation.
Because that was a nice perk. I just don't know. I just don't know how long, that was offered or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was really nice to be able to say, yeah, I'd like to be driven to Hoop-Dee-Doo Review. Because no cars really go there except minivans. But I didn't know if that was a perk.
Yeah. After that, we were tired. It's 6:45. We drove to Riverside and we really wanted beignets. And our original plan had been to walk to French Quarter. But then we realized, oh, they're connected. We can just drive to French Quarter. And so we parked and went in and got our beignets and took them back to our room. And we're in for the night. We had 20,000 steps on Friday.
You did.
Yeah, I did.
She probably had 40 with all the events that she was. I would be curious how much the athletes get during their play.
I know. I agree. I always tell her, I remember a few years ago, like, put on the Fitbit. Let's just see how much. But I don't know. She's not been interested.
So the next day was Saturday, January 25th, and you had another morning and early afternoon for field hockey events. Yeah.
So we were up at 6 again. I didn't order food as early and it worked out fine, but it was kind of a mistake. I should have ordered it at 6 because then you could get that 7 a.m. time for pickup. I think I didn't order until like 6:40. And so my pickup time was 7:10. And I was a little stressed because I'm like, oh, that's cutting it close. It was fine. I arrived at 7:05 and they give you that 5 minutes before that you can still push the button. So at 7:05, I said I'm here and it took 5 minutes to get the Mickey waffles and bacon and all that she wanted for that morning. So by 7:45, we were ready to leave. There was frost on the fields Saturday morning. And this was frustrating because USA Field Hockey put out a post on Instagram that said there's frost on the fields. We might have to delay. And we will update you. But they didn't update at the time they said they would update. So we just had to, go. I'm like, we can't wait and assume that things are going to be delayed, which was a good call because I think they delayed athletes getting onto the field for warmups, but the game still started on time. So we left Riverside by 7:45, at ESPN by 8. They won their first game 5-0. And then they were reseeded after that one. So our next game was at 1 p.m. And the girls won that game 3-0. So it was a good day of field hockey. Done by 2. Had to get a churro on the way out. Back to Riverside. The same deal as the day before. Rest, shower, watch some TV. We ate some Earl of Sandwich leftovers. We were headed back to Disney Springs, but we were going to take the boat this time. Stopped by the front desk on the way to ask if there was a possibility for a late checkout on Sunday. And they were very kind and said 12:30 was the latest they could do, which I thought was fantastic. 11 just was was probably going to be tough. I was worried about, doing that. Got the 12:30 late checkout for Sunday. We were on the boat by 4, and like by 4:30, we're off at Disney Springs. I like the boat ride. It's, it's scenic, it's relaxing. I love the different transportation of Disney. I mean, I love transportation in general, just in the real world, different transportation options. But, you'll see over these next couple of days, it's so fun for us to just try the different transportation methods.
It is. Oh, listen, I'm with you. Cars are my least favorite. So I love being there and being able to use all the different options. I am curious at Disney Springs, which dining reservation you decided to use.
And this changed. We have family who live in the Orlando area. And I reached out to them after I talked to you to see if they would be up for coming and meeting us at Disney Springs.
Uh-huh.
And they actually were available, which was awesome because Bella has a couple of cousins near her age and they love to hang out. So I was able to cancel both reservations that I had, but I got paddlefish for all 6 of us at 6 p.m.
Nice.
Yeah. And we loved it. It was like, it seemed very busy. Disney Springs, I mean, it's a Saturday night. It is busy, right? But we checked in. They sat us right away. We were upstairs, inside, right by a window, had a great view of the water. I loved it. Bella had salmon. I had a salad. It was a great experience. Everyone had wonderful food. And I know that one is a favorite of yours. Mm-hmm. And of course, now I'm like, why have I not gone here before? I can't believe it took me this long to go to Paddlefish.
Well, there's so many choices, but that is definitely one of our favorites. And it became a favorite because the outside areas were really handy when we were trying to avoid human contact as much as possible with social distancing. But also it's like, well, this is just a good place.
Yeah. Yeah, I think eating outside would be wonderful. The temperatures had warmed up, even though there was frost that morning. Mm-hmm. We were, I think, in the upper 50s, close to 60. But I had a light sweater on, and I still brought the winter coat because I knew it would be evening and it would be getting chilly. So outside eating would have been a little chilly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. Being inside was probably very helpful to you, but
yeah,
most of the time in Florida, it's nice to be able to sit outside if you want.
Absolutely. We shopped a little bit. We shopped the co-op. We always love the cool things at the co-op. Basin. We love the soap and all the small good things at Basin. World of Disney. I love and hate World of Disney. It's just too busy.
And huge.
Huge. Yeah. Afterwards, we walked around with our family, went to Ghirardelli, got a brownie, got some candy there, kind of walked Disney Springs. It was very crowded, as I said before. I much prefer Disney Springs. I like to rope drop Disney Springs, to be honest with you. That's my favorite time.
You like it before it gets nighttime busy?
I do.
Yeah, especially on a Saturday.
Yeah. And then we did not take the boat back. I find a lot of times that the wait for the boat can be long, like on a Saturday night. So we took the bus back, and that was also quite a wait. It was very busy, but that's okay. More transportation options.
But in addition to being obsessed with transportation, I'm obsessed with just the logistics. So where you were was closer to the bus stops at this point than the boat dock.
Yes, we would have had to walk all the way back down to, was it Marketplace?
Yeah.
It did make more sense to just take the bus. So we took the bus back. We mobile ordered some pastries because we knew our Sunday morning game was really early and that we would not be able to get breakfast from the food court. We picked up our mobile order at Riverside after getting off the bus and then walked back to our room. And we were just shy of 20,000 steps that day, or I was just shy of 20,000 steps that day.
Yep. Okay, the next day was your last day, and you didn't know beforehand exactly how many games there was going to be because it depended on the results. So how did it work out?
It worked out pretty well. Had to be up super early, 5:30 this time. So we just ate our leftovers, ate what we had picked up on the night before. We were at the fields by 7 a.m. And it was a super tough last game. We ended up losing 0-1. So it was a heartbreaker. But in the end, I mean, it was a great weekend of hockey. The girls finished with 3 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie. Out of 84 teams, they finished 19th.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think 19th out of 84 is pretty darn good?
It is.
Yeah. It was a little disappointing, and they would have liked to have done better. But overall, it was a good tournament. Oh, we were done early. We lost that game, and that was it. So that was 8-9. We were back to Riverside by 9:45. Had that late checkout, which was awesome because we really could take our time packing. You know, it's one thing to pack to go, but when you're packing to come home and you've got souvenirs and you're trying to fit dirty laundry, it's tough. So we had time to pack, to shower, to take naps. And then we drove to French Quarter because I've had my eye on the beignet all day t-shirt for 2 years now.
And I'm surprised you didn't get it when you were there for beignets before.
I looked at it and Bella was like, "Do you want it?" I'm like, "I don't know." And so she's like, "Just go to French Quarter and buy your beignet t-shirt." So we went, bought the beignet shirt, and then drove to the Contemporary. We ended up doing our Steakhouse 71 reservation because we were done early. And probably also because I really had wanted to go to Steakhouse 71 for a long time now. Our reservation was at 105. It was an excellent experience. Seated right away. Just loved the vibe of the restaurant. Oh, the pictures, you know, the old pictures. It was very cool to walk around and see. Our server, Caitlin, she was from New Jersey, was incredible. Just so kind, so helpful, so attentive. We had the onion rings, which were amazing. Bella got the stack burger, which was fantastic. I had a turkey club, which was really good. It was a really fun, relaxing meal. We went,
and did you do a crawl afterward?
Yeah, we went upstairs. Bella wanted this monorail brownie s'more dessert. So we got that from the Contempo Cafe. She didn't eat it yet, was just holding on to it. And then we took the monorail to the TTC and decided to transfer and just take the monorail to Epcot just for fun, not to go to Epcot. But we had never done that before. That was super fun. You know, always love how the monorail goes into the park. And it was gorgeous. Sunday afternoon, we were up to 68 degrees. The sun was shining. Like the weather had finally turned.
Just in time for you to depart.
Of course. So back at the TTC, then we got on the resort monorail and went to the Polynesian, my favorite. We walked over just to go into and see the new Island Tower, which is gorgeous. We love to shop at the Poly. I had to get a Dole Whip. I actually did a Dole Whip swirl with like pineapple and vanilla. Very tasty. Got that at Pineapple Lanai and sat outside. It was nice to be able to sit outside in the sunshine. Bella ate her dessert that she'd gotten at the Contemporary. There was these very, very friendly ducks of Disney who were our friends and kept walking over to us while we ate our snack.
Yeah, I was going to say they wanted your treats.
And after that, we're considering what to do next. We still had time. We decided not to continue on to the Grand Floridian, but we took the boat to Magic Kingdom just for another fun transportation option. You know, as I said, the weather was fantastic. So it was fun to sit outside on the front of the boat and hop over to Magic Kingdom. And then we took the walking path to the Contemporary and boy, do I see how nice that would be. Oh my gosh. Such a quick walk to Magic Kingdom from the Contemporary.
Yes, considering all other methods take a while. That was
Yeah.
really nice.
Yeah. And then that was it. We went to our car, we gassed up, we drove to the airport. Bella always, I think she tries to go to sleep in the car before we exit Disney World, before we hit the sign. So she naps. I-4 is always slow. Driving to the airport, I feel like 16,000 steps that day.
I'm jealous of her being able to just take a nap like that.
Yeah. Yeah, she loves to nap in the car. And
Good for her.
we were to the airport pretty early, but that's okay. You know, MCO is so busy. We have TSA pre-check now. We've started to fly so much that it became worth it. It was a perk of a credit card to get it. And so this was the first time that we used pre-check at MCO, which was definitely a game changer. That line was not long at all. And that was really it. I was a little disappointed in Southwest in that we have Companion Pass and I'll do early bird. But sometimes the early bird does not work out well. Especially I find it when it's on field hockey trips. With my early bird going home, I was assigned C9 and C10 for our boarding positions.
Those are not early bird, though.
That's not early bird. And I just didn't have the time on Sunday to call and complain about it. And my complaint now is that, so I waited till Monday and then they said, oh, you can't call to complain about this because it's already happened. You have to fill out the online form. I did that. And of course, their response was like, sometimes you're disappointed in your early bird position.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but see, come on, see? That means they sold too many if that really is an early bird.
Yeah. There was too many A-listers. I mean, I guess it was a $25 loss, but I might not be done fighting it. I might try again.
I wouldn't either. I'm an A-lister. I would never do that.
Flight was on time and we were, landed by 9:45 and back home by 10:30. And that was a great trip.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So a couple thoughts. How did you feel about traveling this time of year?
I like traveling this time of year because it is a nice break from school. It's something to look forward to after the holidays. January is such a long month, especially this year. So it's nice to get away. It was cold. But in some ways, as I said before, I think that helped my stamina as well. And I don't think that ever hurts. Like Bella playing field hockey, no, she does not mind playing if it is cold. Much better to be playing in the cold than the heat.
Yeah, and like this coming week in Florida is 82. Like it's the opposite.
You cannot predict. I feel like with Florida weather in January, you do not know what you're going to get.
Yeah. So she could have been playing a 1:00 game in 82-degree weather if it had been a week different. You never know.
That's crazy.
But you said it was crowded though, too.
It was. And one of my takeaways, first time using Lightning Lane with the multi-passes, I don't know how big the capacity is for the Lightning Lanes currently, because it never felt like there were many or any people in the Lightning Lanes. And as I said, on one hand, I say it was hard to book. I got plenty of them, so I managed the system well, but it just seemed like maybe they didn't have a large capacity open.
Yeah, which is interesting because I think there's been a lot of debate about with the new Premier Pass. Are they going to just fill the Lightning Lanes and then they're not as valuable? But we've also had that experience where not many people are there.
Yeah.
So that is strange. I was going to ask you about the Lightning Lane system. I can't remember if this was your first trip since the new system launched last summer.
It was. Yeah, first time.
Okay. So overall thoughts about it compared to Genie Plus?
I like it better than Genie Plus.
Mm-hmm.
I love Genie Plus at Disneyland. At Disneyland, it works so differently and
It
was
does.
so easy to maneuver.
I mean, it still is that out there.
Right. That's true.
It's just not called that, but
So no, I think it did its purpose. I mean, we used it well. And it was a good combination of using Lightning Lane and doing standby. I think we were successful. So I mean, I'm definitely not disappointed in our purchase of using it. It worked well.
Especially because you had one day at Magic Kingdom. So that just let you do as much as possible, I guess.
And there's so much. I mean, there's so many things that were on our list to do that we still didn't get to. So
yeah,
if we hadn't had Lightning Lane, we would have done less for sure.
Yeah. And then what about staying at Riverside?
It was beautiful. It's one of my favorite. I would definitely go to French Quarter, stay at French Quarter over Riverside. But I have no complaints. Our room was adorable. And even though it seemed like it was going to be far away, it was not. A 6-minute walk. I have no issues with a 6-minute scenic walk too. Overall, yeah, I liked Riverside.
Good. Is there anything about your trip we haven't talked about?
Don't think so.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to share, and I'm glad it went well overall.
Thanks for having me, Shannon. It's been a pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed my conversations with Heather. Her trip was short and sweet, but packed full of good stuff. We did have a chat afterwards, which is now up on Patreon in both video and audio form. So if you're a patron, be sure to check your feed for that, as well as a million other things that we have going up on Patreon all the time, including a weekly podcast that I do with Heather, chats that I do with the patrons to interview them about their lives, pre-trips, video versions of, the podcast, after chats, just lots of stuff going on there. So if you are a patron, make sure you are catching all the content out there. If you're not a patron, feel free to sign up, because for now, I do not have a limit on it, but I will be shutting it down because we want to keep the community as small and manageable as we can. I think that will wrap up this episode of WDW Prep to Go. For more information, please check the show notes in your podcast app or head to the website, WDWprepschool.com. Click on podcast at the top, scroll down to episode 447. Until next time, I'll see you on the site.